Hey everyone, I'm Jen from The Lens of Jen, and I'm out here on the Oregon coast. First of all, there are more than 20 stops along this stretch of land. I am only touching on 20, but there are so many places to stop here. There really are. But you gotta pick 20, so here we go. Astoria is really awesome. It's this great little town right at the place where the Pacific Ocean meets the Columbia River, so it's a Coast Guard hub. Because of sort of the meeting of those two great bodies of water, it's considered a pretty dangerous stretch of sea. More than 200 ships have wrecked in that area called the Graveyard of the Pacific. Astoria is also very well known for being the place where the Goonies was filmed. Do you recognize this? This is the jail from the Goonies. So you can see the jail that the Fratelli brothers broke out of. It's the Clatsop County Jail. It has been turned into the Oregon Film Museum. You can stop on in and chat with them. And right across the street, you'll see the museum that was Mikey's father's place of work. So you can see some pretty cool Goonies attractions. You can also see the home just at your own risk, I would say. Look, if you're not a Goonies fan, even this story will entertain you, I hope. If you are a Goonies fan, I would say maybe hold off on going up to see the home until the neighbors have sorted out whether it's a tourist attraction or whether it's private property, because let me tell you what, I pulled up actually looking to film only the signs that say private property in order to sort of say, look, this is a private home and, you know, maybe you shouldn't treat it like a tourist attraction. And I was confused because there was all of these homemade signs on the mailboxes that said, come on up the drive. And I thought, wow, maybe I will go up the drive. And up at the top there was a very friendly man with his dog waving at me, and I'm thinking, okay, I am gonna go up. And then all of a sudden this vehicle backs out from one of the driveways, the lower driveways, and then comes down the hill at a very quick speed. I kind of have to jump out of the way. And the woman in the car really ripped me a new one. So I sort of said, I'm sorry, it's confusing, because the signs say to walk up, and she wasn't having that. She got very close to me with her car again, pointedly. So look, I hear that there's a donation box at the top, and that the owners of the home and that many of the homeowners around the home want you to come see it, but there is this one woman who is really not okay with it. And, you know, until they sort that out, I would probably not go, or I would be very, very cautious. Maybe check in with the Oregon Film Office, which is located now in that Clatsop County Jail, and see what the latest is before you head up and risk getting hit by a car. Okay, so there's no more drama in any of the other stops. Stop 2, the Lewis and Clark National Historic Park. So this is Fort Clatsop. This is where Lewis and Clark built a winter fort with their expedition. It is very cool. It's outdoors. You can wander around outside and see sort of the recreated fort that was right there. Very, very interesting place to visit, and right along the way to stop number 3. So stop number 3, that is where you see the evidence of the treachery of the sea around this area. So this is the Peter Iredale Shipwreck, and on October 25th, 1906, a crew of 25 men and their captain ran into a dense fog right here and just couldn't tell how far they were from the shore, and they ran right up on shore here. And when the tide is out, you can literally walk straight up to the shipwreck, and you can kind of see just how big the shipwreck is. Now, it's beautiful any time of the day. When the tide is in, you can still see the ship. You can't exactly walk up to it, and you can't see as much evidence of the ship. But it is a really, really cool place to stop as you're driving down the coast, and, you know, kind of that evidence of this being the graveyard of the Pacific. Seaside, Oregon is our fourth stop, and it is a great place, especially if you have kids. I grew up coming here. It's just kind of where we went on the Oregon coast, and you know, all kinds of fun things for kids to do. There's like the tilt-a-whirl and, you know, all of the kitschy boardwalk kind of things, but the town itself goes far beyond just that. There's a cool aquarium, there's this beautiful promenade. I mean, I think I could walk for days on this promenade. And, you know, the sunsets, man, they're something else. This is also the end of the Lewis and Clark Trail, so a very cool historic stop. Stop number 5 is Cannon Beach. And that is where we are right now. We're in Cannon Beach, Oregon. Haystack Rock is just right there. It is one of the most beautiful places in Oregon. The town itself is just absolutely quaint and fantastic. You can get a lot of beachfront Airbnbs and property looking right out at Haystack Rock. Beautiful place to walk both at sunset and sunrise. It is where I chose to spread my late partner's ashes. He had considered this his happy place. It is also the rock that you see at the end of the Goonies movie, so bringing that all around. Cannon Beach can get a little bit overrun in the summertime, to be honest. I love it this time of year. Again, I'm here in February of 2021, and it is just absolutely gorgeous, and there just aren't that many people. And you can always get a really wicked winter storm out here, which is a lot of fun. Stop number 6 is Rockaway Beach, and we saw Haystack Rock, but that's really only the start of sort of our rock formation tour as we move down the coast. You can see the Twin Rocks from Rockaway Beach. Just an absolutely great place to stop. Often like to get a little lunch and eat it there at Rockaway Beach. Speaking of getting a little bit of lunch, our 7th stop is the Tillamook Creamery, and honestly, there's no better place to get a little bit of lunch than the Tillamook Creamery. It is the best. You can get ice cream tastings, cheese tastings.
There's the best cheese ever.
And you can also order from their menu. Their burgers are pretty bomb. You know, during COVID, everything has moved to outdoors. You can still stop and do takeout there. Currently, they're not doing their tours of the factory itself, but check in before you go. Sometimes you can schedule a tour, and the tour is really worth it. Our next stop is Cape Meares, and it is a great place to work off that lunch. Short walking trails all around it, absolutely beautiful. Also great places to just sit down and watch. You might see a bald eagle if you're there in the wintertime. The Lighthouse is pretty cool. Seasonally open for tours. Cape Meares also marks the first of 3 capes that you're going to see. It's at the top of the 3-cape Scenic Coast Drive. So get ready to see some capes. Oceanside is this great little town that is just sitting on a hill overlooking the ocean and the 3 Rocks National Wildlife Refuge. So more rock formations, more beauty, but this time we're talking about seeing it from maybe a porch if you're lucky enough to get yourself an Airbnb or a boutique hotel that overlooks the ocean. Highly recommend trying to do that. Stop number 10 is Cape Lookout, so your second cape. And it has this great beach if you just want to walk the beach and stare at the rocks, but there is also this really cool hike that you could take. 4.7 miles out and back flat, so not hard. But you get out there and you get to really see sort of the Cape from all the different perspectives, and it's just a really beautiful walk as you're sort of in the trees looking out at this rugged coast. Stop number 11 is Cape Kiwanda, so your third cape, and this one is actually right in Pacific City. There are areas to go hiking and to get out of the city, but Pacific City is located right there, and it is a cute little town. Another place that gets a little bit busy in the summer months, but definitely a place to check out in the winter months, or if you're lucky enough to get, you know, a hotel or an Airbnb there in the summer. It's a cool place to stay. Stop number 12 is Drift Creek Falls Trail. This is really cool if you like to hike. If you don't like to hike, keep on driving down the coast, but this is a great place for hikers. And to be honest, the hike is really not that far. It's a pretty flat hike through this wooded area, and then you get to this 240-foot suspension bridge. So awesome. Super sturdy, don't worry, although, man, it can get a little dicey up there. It's just a big bridge. But on the other side of that, you are rewarded by this beautiful waterfall, and I really, really highly recommend this hike. Stop number 13 is Depoe Bay. It is known as the whale watching capital of the world. Absolutely gorgeous town. When I was there, I didn't get to see any whales, but it was so fun to look for them. You know, it was just take a walk, look for whales, head into town. It's a beautiful little boardwalk town. Has the smallest navigable harbor in the world. So it's also a really just cute place to kind of do scavenger hunts and look for like the oddities of Depoe Bay, because there's a lot of oddities in Depoe Bay. I really recommend stopping here, and if you're lucky enough to stay a night in Depoe Bay. Next up is Cape Foulweather, and when you're here, you are pretty much going to understand why Captain Cook called it Cape Foulweather. I mean, you will get a little bit blown around out there. There's a lookout to stop at sort of the top of Cape Foulweather as we're heading south. There's Devil's Punch Bowl to check out, which is just a collapsed sea cave. It's very cool. And then you continue on to our next stop, which is the Yaquina Head Lighthouse. Here I did see whales, so keep an eye out. Right now, during COVID, the lighthouse is closed, so make sure you check that before you go. Although I would say it's worth a stop as you're driving anyway, because it's a really beautiful location. Like I said, I did see whales there. So now you're in Newport, beautiful Newport. Before we head on over to South Beach, taking the big bridge from Newport, go ahead and stop at the Rogue headquarters. Grab a beer. It's a local beer here in the Pacific Northwest, and great views of the massive bridge. Okay, now take the bridge over and grab some lunch at the South Beach Fish Market. It is amazing. If you have time, stop at South Beach. Great place for a sunset. Stop number 17 is Seal Rock. I highly recommend a stop here because the tide pools are just absolutely amazing. So if the tide is out, you're going to see some really cool creatures, and you can kind of clamber out on these rocks. It's really cool. It's a very fun experience. If the tide is in, it's still a really beautiful place to see the wind whipping the waves against these ancient rock formations. Seal Rock, really cool place. Stop number 18 is Yachats. This is the gateway to our next stop, and it is a beautiful little town. I absolutely love it because it has names like Diversity Lane and these beautiful little Airbnbs and boutique hotels that look out over these sort of really interesting rock formations, and another cape. Which brings us to our next stop, which is Cape Perpetua. Now at Cape Perpetua, I literally have a blog post on the 10 things that you need to do just at this location alone. So this is stop number 19 on our Oregon Coast road trip tour. But within this stop, there are at least 10 things to do alone. So if you can only do one, do hit up the Cape Perpetua lookout and check out this sort of iconic picture. Of course, you're also going to want to see Thor's Well, which is an absolutely beautiful place to visit because this collapsed sea cave sucks the water in and then just spouts it out. And literally, you just turn like this far and you can see Captain Cook's Chasm, which also has another spouting chasm. So this is just a really fun place to check out some really interesting rock formations and collapsed sea caves. Just be really careful because when you're walking out there, you can get very, very close. But you don't want to get too close because you don't want to get sucked in. We're on to stop number 20, our final stop on this Oregon Coast road trip. But please know there are so many stops beyond this. I've gotten you down to the central Oregon coast, which is right where the Oregon dunes are. And this is just a wild place on the planet. I mean, these sand dunes go on and on and on for miles and miles and miles, and it meets sort of ocean and wilderness and these massive Pacific Northwest trees, and I just can't say enough about visiting the dunes, although I will say I am not a huge sand fan, So if you're like me and you're like, heck no, I'm not going to a place full of sand, please know you're still going to love this stop. You just might want to skip all of the sand adventures like sand surfing and AV. I skipped that. However, if you're into the adventure, this is one of the best stops for big kids out there. Check out the Oregon Dunes. That wraps up our Oregon Coast road trip. Please note that there are so many more than 20 stops on this trip. I've only picked my 20 favorites, and that may change as I continue to explore. So please check back, please continue to watch, hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for wandering this world with love.